Hello, hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, and we are up to episode number 7 of our playthrough of the Rizia DLC on the game Suzerain by Torpor Games and fellow traveler. We are going to be meeting with Alphonso and Gus Manger from Sordland in this episode. Not sure how that's going to go. It's going to be really interesting. I'm very curious to see how Alphonso is actually when he is a character on the screen. So we're going to get into that. Another thing I want to take care of this episode, after our meeting with the swords, I want to start training some of our military here. I'll probably do a couple of infantry divisions, an armored division. I think we only have one available. And possibly a support division. So we'll get into that. But first, let's read the news. King envisions greater gas exports. Esquires field to provide. In order to increase Rizia's gas output as well as to boost domestic energy security, the palace has announced that it will be undertaking a major expansion of the Esquires offshore gas field. Apparently I was supposed to do some type of geological survey before I did this, but I didn't, so I guess it's kind of a coin toss whether this is going to provide any type of resource that we can tap into. The construction of new offshore platform as well as onshore refining facilities will greatly increase Rizia's gas production capabilities, paving the way for this backbone of our economy to be strengthened. The king has announced that this new decree will potentially allow for greater exporting of natural gas to Rizia's neighbors in the future, something that will only be undertaken if, according to the palace, the security of Rizia's domestic supply won't be threatened. The announcement highlighted that this could provide great future riches for the country, which is a good thing. The geopolitical says Federation of Anraka bolsters trade ties with Ostioke and Nalaperna. The Federation of Anraka is bolstering its economic ties with the anarchist cantons of Ostioke and the Kingdom of Nalaperna, seeking to capitalize on its strategic location and abundant natural resources. This initiative is poised to bolster regional economic resilience and mutual prosperity that challenges the hegemony of traditional superpower-led trade blocs. Anraka's move to enhance these alliances heralds a new era of regional cooperation, potentially reshaping the economic contours of the continent and offering a fresh paradigm of interdependence in the global market. The Federation of Anraka is a federal republic comprised of an archipelago strategically situated between the continents of Mercopa and Cantana. Alright. Which is... somewhere on this map is the Federation of Anraka. Okay, anyway, let's visit with the swords. My royal yacht, the Rizia, smoothly cleaved through the waters of the Napana River Delta. I stood on the deck next to Ewald Alphonso, president of Sordland. After hours of diplomatic formalities in Palas Resna, the sea breeze felt amazing. Alphonso removed his jacket and looked up admiringly at the wide cable bridge that connected Porte Drazon's two halves. I do believe this is the first time that I've ever actually seen this guy. They must have had him in the other one, but apparently I never cared enough to click on him. What a great idea this boat tour was. It would have been a pity to spend our entire visit trapped in a stuffy old palace. He rushed to correct himself. A beautiful, elegant old palace, Your Majesty. The ship's horn let out a blast as we passed beneath the bridge. Let's show him the new town. I directed the Sordish president's attention to the glass skyscrapers of the new town where Rizia's banks and major corporations were headquartered. See, this is what I like about your country. You're not afraid of the future. I'm not one to look backwards. Neither are you, I hear. My grandmother was definitely thinking ahead when she made those trade deals with Sordland years ago. Don't let the razzle-dazzle fool you. Rizia is as stuck in the past as it ever was. Or those skyscrapers are an eyesore. I'm not going to butter him up too much. But I'm going to remind him of our past connections. Liza the Great. It's not easy living in the shadow of our predecessors. The Colonel was no great fan of monarchies, as you'll recall. Me, I'm more flexible. For such an anti-monarchist, he behaved an awful lot like a king. The only difference between your republic and our monarchy is that the Rizian people are happier. Nor was my father keen on democracy. You and I have much in common. Countries with differing politics can still find common ground. I'm going to go with that one. By the end, maybe. I wish we'd parted ways on better terms. I know one man who's happy for a clean break, though. Gus Manger emerged from the ship's cabin, clutching a bottle and grinning triumphantly. Thought he'd look a little younger. Ewald, they have it! I tried Cantavaro exactly once from a Rizian chef in Holsword who smuggled it over in his steamer trunk. Haven't stopped thinking about it ever since. Damn alcoholic swords. He turned to me apologetically. Our mutual friend Rossello mentioned your yacht had an excellent wine cellar, and, well, I couldn't help myself. Mr. Montoro is not my friend, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't go rooting around in my ship's quarters. Yeah. Rossello Rusty Montoro. Like a farmer. Rusty has certainly sampled enough wine to know what he's talking about. You're that impressed by a Cantavaro, I hate to think of the swill they must be serving in Sordland. Man of exquisite taste, I like you already. Yeah, we'll give him a little poke. I wouldn't mind gaining some first-hand knowledge myself. Baller! Oh my god. Pavel smoothly appeared from behind us with 3 glasses. Gus handed him the bottle. Excellent choice, Mr. Manger. Please allow me. He filled the glasses and handed one to each of us. It should taste of cherry and black pepper, with a faint hint of leather. Sounds nasty. Cherry, black pepper, and leather. I guess I'm not a fan of wine, so that may be a very fine tasting wine, but cherry and black pepper. Hey, Mauragana West Core, there we go. Aha. The 2 Sordish men smiled politely. We don't usually toast with that phrase, but nice pronunciation. Yes, well done. Vector insists da. Ha! Oh, I'm too happy about this whole Sordish thing. We drank. Gus sighed with pure pleasure. Alphonso's expression bordered on disbelief. All apologies to Geralt of Ribery, but this is in fact the best wine I've ever tasted. I told you, I know certain Sordish movers and shakers who'd kill to have access to a beverage of this caliber. Which brings me to that deal I suggested. Ah yes, the free trade of Rizian wine for Sordish whiskey. As good as that can't be. This has got to be a joke. As good a way as any to get our relations flowing again, if you'll pardon the pun. It can't be the only reason you've traveled all this way. Sordish whiskey. I'd have to taste it first. Rizians don't drink whiskey, Mr. President. It can't be the only reason why you came all this way. Alphonso opened his attaché and pulled out a bottle of Earloy Maroon 30-year-old. Our turn to be the connoisseurs, Your Majesty. Butler, 3 tumblers, no ice. Pavel approached with 3 glasses. Just a small sip for me to make sure my people aren't getting an inferior product. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you two were trying to get me drunk. So far, it's been a pretty light-hearted meeting. One does not merely drunk. Oh, wait. One does not get merely drunk on Earloy Maroon. What the hell? One floats. One does not simply walk into Mordor. Okay. This is not going the way I expected it to. I expected kind of a serious meeting, and here we are. Pavel poured us each a small amount of amber-colored liquid. I'll do the toast this time. How do you people say it? A proso? We drank. Flavor rushed over my tongue. Wood smoke and forest moss tapered off to a sweet, silky, smooth finish. Another reason I don't drink. I don't like dirt flavored liquid. It's heavenly. Disgusting. Why would anyone want a drink that tastes like trees? See what I mean? It's tempting. It really is, but I... King Toras, you are of like mind to your narrator here. It's great, but I'd better not have any more. That's liquid gold you're leaving in your glass. As I pitched it over the side of the boat. Last I saw, your treasury crone was in the cabin reading over the terms of the proposal. Shall we haul her up here and hash this out? You're in Rizia, Mr. Manger. We treat women like equals here. Don't call Miss Werner a crone. She's one of my most capable counselors. Sorry, I had to bring along the wet blanket. Would have preferred a man's night out, too. I gotta draw the line somewhere. My treasury crone. Alphonso gave Gus a look of warning. I apologize on behalf of my minister. I told him to leave his baser impulses at home. I assure you, Sordland is making progress on the status of women. Some of my most trusted ministers belong to the fairer sex. Pavel ducked into the ship's cabin and reemerged with Lena. My treasury counselor looks slightly seasick. He always looks like that, though. Pardon my absence, gentlemen. Despite my Volgish ancestry, I never warmed up to boat travel. The draft agreement seems sound, but I had a question about the section regarding quantities. You're proposing an equal amount of wine and whiskey. This seriously is about booze. My God. Okay. I'll just keep going. I'll roll with it. Roll with the punches, all right? An equal amount of wine and whiskey be traded per year when more demand currently exists for the former than the later. Equal amount of wine and whiskey be traded per year. There's more demand existing for the wine. If demand for whiskey doesn't exist in Rizia, we'll just have to find a way to create it. Okay? See, this is what I brought her along. Reopening trade channels to sell us useless whiskey. What a swindle. Is there another way we can rephrase this, Mr. President? Why I brought her along. Good catch, Miss Werner. We can change that section if you like. Quantities subject to market demands. That sounds better. Demand in Rizia will skyrocket once Earloy Maroon hits the market. Trust me. So is it a trade, Your Majesty? Why not? It's just booze. Expect to see all our bars serving Sordish whiskey by next year. Now, can we get to the real reason why you're here? That's a yes for trade deal, yes for trade deal. Our wine is so superior to our whiskey that it wouldn't be fair to us. No, sorry, I'd rather not bring more hard liquor into the country. Yeah, we'll do it. But why are you really here, bud? Lena flipped open her ledger and made a quick note. Excellent, Your Majesty, and yes, there is one more proposal we wanted to discuss, finally. The yacht lingered at the mouth of the Zapana Delta as the sun lowered into the sky, turning the water from turquoise to gold. As much as Sordland's most valued citizens would appreciate your wine, we believe there's something else they'd find even more stunning. He gestured at his surroundings, then down at the short-sleeved shirt he was wearing. Have you thought about Rizia's on-tap tourism potential, Your Majesty? Why, yes, I have. Actually, that's why I'm excavating a city. Many times before. Our beaches put Lesbians to shame, after all. I'm afraid our conflicts with our neighbors would scare off visitors. We only want the right kind of tourist, Mr. Manger. No riffraff. I'm listening. Rizian pride. They're true diamonds in the rough. I know that for a long time, international tourists stayed away from the Valenquois coast because of the delicate situation with pails. He pronounced the last word as pails. Is that not how it's supposed to be said? Well, I'm not going to change it. Oh, here we go. What do you call her? It's Palais, Mr. Manger. Rhymes with ballet. I'm never going to remember that, but I will try. Palais. I like pails better. Oh, sorry, I never had the occasion to speak the name aloud. My point is that it might finally be time to bring your underdeveloped shores to life. I took the liberty of hiring a designer to draw this up. He reached inside his jacket pocket and pulled out a sheet of paper with a sketch on it. I recognized the beach it depicted. It was a picturesque stretch of sand in Monkeys, not far from the palace where I'd grown up. Right on the coastline, the designer had placed a sprawling complex with a swimming pool and a tennis court. On it was a sign, Coranti Resort Valenquois. Really? Marcel Coranti is going to make an appearance, possibly. House Toras would never stand for this. I'm not bringing Sordish new money to Rizia. It's missing a private pier. Would that be the senior or junior Coranti? It's good to know. His dad's still alive, actually. You've done your research. See? This is Marcel's initiative, along with certain other members of the Lothberg group. Our partners are considering significant investment along the Valenquois coast. Palais. Rhymes with ballet. If all went well, the Coranti Resort would only be the first step. I don't like the name. Alphonso swirled the last drops of whiskey around in his glass. I'm aware of how your nobles see Sordish oligarchs. I'm also aware that their world-renowned riches have diminished with each successive generation. Change is not merely inevitable, Your Majesty. It's the only way to preserve the lifestyle to which you're also accustomed. Your grandmother understood that. Liza wouldn't have wanted a bunch of fat, sunburned Vulgarian blocking her ocean view. No offense. We don't need Sordish help to stay healthy, wealthy, ever. I am king. The nobles would have no choice but to acquiesce. Well said, Mr. President. My relatives could use a good shock to the system. Uh... I could go the hard line here, kind of like, I'm king. My call. I'm going to go with that one. I've got to be somewhat headstrong and headsure as king. So that's a yes on the proposal? Not so fast. Let me confer with Lena. It is indeed. I hope I'm invited to the grand opening. Yes, as long as the final design is less gaudy. No, I do want to open Rizia up to the world, but I'd rather not. Rather explore other avenues. Let's talk to Lena about this first, see what she says. As your wish, Your Majesty. The Sordish visitors waited outside as Lena and I walked into the cabin to talk. Would she have wanted this? Well, Liza did everything in her power to transform Rizia into a modern, enlightened nation, but she was also a proud Toras. I'm not sure she would have wanted to see her house's pride and joy become a stomping ground for swords. But if I may speak freely, I don't think that's a bad idea. You're not a Toras, you don't understand. Neither do I, but I wanted to hear your reasoning. Why not? Money! King, money. I'm from Valenquois, okay? I grew up just minutes away from those beaches, but it wasn't until I became a counselor that I had the pull to bring my family there. That resort wouldn't just open up Valenquois coast to Sordland, it would open up the rest of Rizia. Shall we get back out on deck? Thank you for sharing your opinion. We stepped back out into the waning sunlight and rejoined Alphonso and Gus Manger. Well, Your Majesty, are we making history today? That's a little dramatic, don't you think? You have a deal, but does the resort have to be as gaudy as the one in the pictures? Just remember to invite me to the grand opening of Cronty Resort Valenquois. Yeah. You'll get a free stay in the largest suite anytime you like. I would hope so. In less than an hour, we've accomplished more for our countries than our predecessors managed in 30 years. We traded booze and opened up a Sandals resort. All-inclusive, Valenquois. Sandals Valenquois. Quite the feat indeed. I'd say that calls for a celebration. Butler, another bottle. His name is Pablo Adria. Show some respect. That's enough, Mr. Manger. I'm cutting you off. He's... You heard the man, Pablo. He's my butler, not yours. He's also my friend. Don't snap your fingers at him. I stand corrected, Mr. Adria, if you would be so kind. Pablo reappeared, another bottle in hand. He shot me a grateful look as he filled our glasses. The yacht began to turn back towards Porte Drazon as the sun disappeared over the horizon. Cool. Right, let's see what we have here. Sordish, Sordland HOS Resort Deal. Trade deal with Sordland. There's that. Oops. Now what do we have? Oh, we got a lot of stuff now. I'm gonna do this military thing here first. See if I... +1. +2. Not enough resources. I can do it. Rain. Yes. Here we go. We're training some troops. Rizia signs pair of historic deals with Sordland. Sordland's first official diplomatic visit to Rizia in over 30 years proved a smashing success. President Alphonso and his development minister Gus Manger flew back home as friends of the king, having cemented a pair of historic deals between the two countries. Freshly freed from the tyranny of Colonel Tarkin Sol, Sordland has been eager to restore the trade relationship it enjoyed with Rizia under the reign of King Egmund. A new free trade agreement will bring delicious Sordish whiskey to our shores while making Cantavaro easier for grateful swords to access. Meanwhile, the province of Velenqua can expect more Sordish visitors as a resort operated by businessman Marcel Caranti is slated for construction on the Monquise coast. Non-interventionism gains momentum in Arcasia under Devereux. Charles Devereux of the Reformist Union Party is emerging as a potent force in Arcasian politics, challenging President Dwight Walker's vision of Arcasian capitalism, advocating for reduced military intervention, and favoring détente with the United Cantona. Devereux's approach marks a stark departure from Walker's policies. This call for rapprochement signifies a potential shift in the Arcasian foreign policy, resonating with a segment of the populace dissatisfied with the current aggressive stance. This movement underscores a growing divide in Arcasian political thought, reflecting the nation's struggle to balance its superpower status with evolving global rivalry tension. Sordland and Rizia reestablished ties. Sources... Wow. So maybe I've been having some of that fine dirt-tasting liquor. Sources have indicated a thaw in Rizia and Sordish relations as a diplomatic visit to the kingdom by new Sordish president Ewald Alphonso was said to have ended in a deal being inked between the two nations. This marks a turning point both for Sordland, which maintained few relationships with its neighbors under the rule of Colonel Sol, and for Rizia, which in recent years has been trading exclusively with Rumburg. That is something I did not think about. How Queen Beatrice will react to her ally shaking hands with her kingdom's historical enemies remains to be seen. Not something at all I thought about. Okay. Well. Monkeys. Monkeys port reports ship logjam. Nearly 30 container ships were caught in a logjam by the port of Monkeys yesterday, many of them transporting goods to Rumburg's Port Grim. Officials say this highlights the need to upgrade the facility for faster docking and processing, which would cost money. Conversation with Vina at the coast of Monkeys. Alka Springs Leisure Club closed amid homosexual revelations. What the fuck? Police in Montclair conducted a raid of the so-called health retreat Alka Springs Leisure Club following a tip-off that the bathing facility was in fact a gathering place for the local homosexual community. During their unscheduled visit, several same-sex couples were indeed found to be engaging in illegal activities. They were promptly arrested, and the leisure club shut down. Okay. Azaros rebuked for conducting military exercises close to Terrador border. The governor of Terrador has issued a stern rebuke to the Azaros of Cardes Montclair after their provincial military conducted exercises near the Palais Administrative District. Labeling the drills as unnecessarily provocative, the governor called for restraint and dialogue to address any inter-provincial tensions. The statement emphasized the importance of peaceful coexistence and cooperation within the kingdom of Rizia. Right, so this is our gas field, and this is the restoration here. What else do we have to do? Mission Toras family statues. Why not? There's been a proposition to erect statues across the nation in honor of the grand legacy of House Toras. The choices are varied. One that honors King Valero, another showcasing the late king alongside his son Romus, or a grand portrayal of the entire recent Toras limit. Why not? Stat decreased. Stat decreased. Trucks. Stat decreased. Not entirely sure what's happening with all that. Probably add some support into this. Wouldn't be a bad idea. But we'll hold. I'm going to see how this plays out here. And go from there. So I'm thinking that looking for something about ports, about the ports here. Hydroelectric monkeys, port and naval shipyard expansion. I don't think I can. Yeah. How much does this cost? -5 to the budget, which we have nothing. Alright, so I think we just 2, 4, 6, 7 minus 2. Yeah, we just cost ourselves some money by training those troops, but that's fine. Have a conversation with Vina. It was low tide. The waves of the Antician Sea lapped at the sands below the cliffs of Monkeys. The trail was carved into the cliffside just wide enough for a single horse. Vina picked up speed as she guided her mare, Lizzie, around a sharp curve. Go faster yourself. I urged my horse on. She balked at the steep drop, slowing us down. Vina glanced back at me with a grin. Meet you at the beach. Watched her fly down the trail. She'd thrown herself into horseback riding after Lena died. She kept a few horses in Porte Drazon as well, but Lizzie was her favorite. I followed her at a leisurely pace, taking time to gaze back up at the hills at Palace Monkeys. With Hubertus Toras governing the province from his own estate, I was free to visit my old home and its private beach anytime I liked. At the bottom of the trail was a sheltered cove where Pavel had laid out a picnic lunch. I dismounted and sat next to Vina. Really didn't have to come back to Monkeys with me, Father. I wanted to. Council meetings don't exactly count as quality time together. I'm grateful for the break. It's too hectic in Porte Drazon. I've got to do some glad handing here anyway, before Sordish invasion begins. That's true. Deciding the fate of the country together, that screams quality time to me. I don't know how much we're deciding. Sometimes I feel like it's out of any of our hands. My mother was right about a few things. It's not healthy to spend too long in those chambers. Keep up that enthusiasm. It will serve you well when you're older. And Queen. He picked up a lobster salad sandwich from a picnic basket and nibbled at it. Solemn silence descended as we stared out at the waves. 8 years since she died. When I'm here, it might as well have been yesterday. Since who died? Oh, man. Slap. I honestly don't think about her that often. Wow. She almost died too that day, you know. Sometimes I wish I had. I can't even dip my toe in the water or it'll all come rushing back. Looked out at the sea again. Let yourself remember. The memories rushed over me. Sickening sound the boat had made as its girders splintered, calling out for my wife over and over until my voice finally gave out. The beep of the hospital machines as I told Vina to say goodbye to her mother one last time. Was there anything I could have done to save her? In another timeline, were there 3 of us sitting on this beach instead of 2? Wow. Kudos, Torpor Games, for a pretty damn good story. Tears formed at the corner of my eyes. Don't resist. I started sobbing. Vina appeared at a loss for words. She tentatively put a hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Father. I didn't realize it was still so fresh for you as well. You know what'll help blot out those memories? A big Sordish resort right on the spot. Grief isn't a straight line, my daughter. It ebbs and flows like a tide. That is very true. It's always high tide for me. I'm not sure I even want to come up for air. She wiped her eyes. But you must be feeling the same way about Mother, otherwise you would have remarried by now. Oh, you just wait. 8 years and not so much as a date. I've had dates, just nobody worth telling you about. Good thing we're rich, because I had to pay out the ass for them. It feels useless to try. I've never loved anyone else as much as I loved your mother. Looking after you has been my #1 priority. What's with the sudden interest in my love life? You just asked. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to click on that one. I really didn't mean to click on that one. Misclick. Oh, well. I was going to click on the looking after you one, but kind of went a little spastic with the mouse. Vina looked unconvinced. But if you were to meet somebody, what if you had a son? Who would be your successor when you died? What if you had a son? So I wonder if she's worried about me jacking up with someone and having another kid and bumping her off to the side. I wonder if they have the, oh, what's the name of the, it's right there on the tip of my tongue, the British system. Where it passes right to the progenitation, I think. Absolute progenitation, something like that. I wonder if she's worried about that. What makes you think Rizia will still be ruled by a monarch by the time I die? I'd still declare you next in line. Rizia needs a queen like you, and the rules were meant to be broken. He'd become my successor, of course. Those are the rules. But you'll still be a duchess. You don't have anything to worry about. My childbearing days are over. Progenitation. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna have any more kids. But you're a man. What the hell's that supposed to mean? As long as your wife's young enough, you could have another child at any age. She sighed. Never mind. I feel like that conversation got cut a little short. The tide was beginning to lap at the edges of her blanket. She stood up and pulled it away from the water. Father, one more thing. I'm not hungry right now. I'll eat my sandwich when we get back to the palace. What? Fine, you can make... So, was there a part of the conversation that I didn't have? You can bring Lizzie back to the Porte Drazon, but you'll have to get rid of one of your other horses to make room in the stables. What? It's just... Grandmother is always on about how I need to find the right husband. How important is it to you, really, whom I marry? Why? You want to have any children, any candidates in mind? Do you have any candidates in mind? This is going to go right to that third ruling house thing there. You're a princess, Vina. Your marriage status matters not only to me, but to the whole country, which is true. I don't care who you marry as long as he's of noble birth. Don't listen to that hypocrite. Grandma followed her heart, and so should you. You're a princess, Vina. It matters to everybody. Does that mean you're planning to marry me off like your father did to you? And what if I am? My arranged marriage was the best thing that ever happened to me. He fixed me with a stare. You and Mother were lucky to fall in love. Most such marriages are miserable. Think of it as yet another one of your royal obligations. You can always take a lover on the side. Awesome advice, Dad. You want to be queen? This is part of it. A single wedding can accomplish more than 100 political conferences. Whether or not I loved her, I did what I was ordered to do, and so will you when the time comes. I might suggest a potential husband or two, but I'll never drag you to the altar. You want to be queen, this is part of it. Alright. I appreciate your honesty. I do know we royals must make compromises in our personal lives. He hopped astride Lizzie. Sorry to run, but one of the countesses from my school days have invited me for tea. She's just a few estates down the beach from here. I thought we'd be spending the whole visit together. Try and gauge her reaction to the Sordish resort idea, will you? Titus, send one of your men down there to keep an eye on her. Have fun. I'm glad we were able to talk. Yeah, I mean... See what you can find out while you're there. Put the feelers out. I already know her family hates it, but I'll try and sway them for you. Well, thanks. And away she rode. The trip back up to the palace felt a lot longer than the way down. It was dusk by the time I'd returned my horse to the stables. I staggered through the doorway of Palace Monkeys exhausted. Pablo swiftly took my coat. Welcome back, Your Majesty. Where's the princess? She's too fast for her old man. She's visiting a friend, but she wanted to thank you for lunch. Monkeys lobster. It's never so sweet as when it's fresh out of the water. There's a warm bath waiting for you upstairs in case you're sore from the ride. Only if it's got bubbles. Really? No. All part of the job, sir. I made my way to Palace Monkeys' master bathroom, where an enormous clawfoot tub was filled to the brim with soapy, eucalyptus-scented water. I undressed and got... Scrub your right arm, scrub your left arm, scrub your right leg, scrub your left leg. What? Really have to do this? Alright, whatever. Right arm. Temperature was perfect. A tap came on the door so softly I thought I was imagining it at first. Your Majesty? Yes? May I come in? I forgot to leave you a towel. I'll dry off without a towel. Ow. Flapping your arms and legs. The door slowly opened and Pablo entered, a fluffy towel in his arms. He hung it over a hook on the wall. I noticed an identical towel on the hook next to it. Is there another reason you wanted to come in? He took a step closer. He took a step closer to the tub, conscientiously keeping his eyes on the wall. Actually, there was something I wanted to bring up without any guards around. Sounds serious. It might be, or it might not be. I'm not sure. There was a small stool next to the tub. He moved over to it and sat with his back to me. What do you want? Pablo spoke the next words slowly. Your Majesty, how much have you been told about your father's death? What? It was a heart attack. What else would I need to know? I haven't cared enough to go digging around. Not a lot. Do you suspect something? That was the official explanation, yes. Back when my dad was still alive, he showed me every single plant in the Palace Resna Gardens. One of them was Mandragora. Big green leaves, pretty purple flowers. He told me you can make an extract from its roots. A little bit helps you sleep. More than that causes delirium. And a lot stops your heart. You've been reading too many fantasy novels. Why didn't you ever tell me about this plant? I think I see where this is going. I know it seems preposterous, but the night His Majesty King Valero died, I brought him his evening cup of tea as usual. He seemed in a daze, as if he didn't recognize me. A few days afterward, I went out to the part of the garden where my father had planted the Mandragora, nothing but a smooth patch of dirt. When was the last time you saw the plant? Who was around the palace that night? Could someone have slipped it in his supper? If he was poisoned, the coroner would have caught it. Mandragora is a naturally occurring substance. It may not have raised a flag. Alright, let's say father was indeed poisoned. What would be the motivation? We both know His Majesty had a long list of enemies, but the goal could simply have been to put you on the throne. So I have a secret friend in the palace, or I'm next. No matter what, I would urge caution. There were so few people he trusted by the end. If my suspicions are correct, it means one of them took advantage of that trust. And all of those people are still in your inner circle today. I see. I'm going to have to look into this further. That'll give me a potential investigation. Even if you're right, this isn't worth pursuing. Nobody's going to murder me. I'm not seeing it, Pablo. It's too fantastical. Wait, what if you did it and you're trying to throw me off your trail? I'm going to have to look into it further. Potential investigation. What do you think I should do next? I wish I knew. Try to find out as much as you can without raising suspicions, I guess. I'll keep my ear out. Oh my god, I'll keep an ear out myself. Palace gossip gets around. Trust me, old friend. I'll always have your back. Speaking of backs, can you give mine a scrub while you're here? Be Mayor Volu. I wonder what that means. Remember, I'm still your superior. Don't try to rise above your station. If you've said all you have to say, you're dismissed. That That one's definitely not going to be my choice. I'll go with this. Un oxet solu. He finished the phrase with a gentle smile, then rose from his seat. I'll take my leave before your water gets too cold. Abel. Romus. Stay in chat. Baths are boring alone. I'm happy there's one member of my inner circle I can trust. He bowed his head in gratitude and quietly exited, leaving me to finish my bath. After a thorough soak, I dressed and headed to my study. I still had some work to go over before the trip back. Wow. Okay, so we made a pretty good deal with the swords. Had a decent conversation with our daughter. Started training some military. And almost went down a slippery slope with our butler. I'd call that a good episode. I don't know what you'd call it, but I'm going to call it a good episode. Anyway, if you like this episode, episode number 7, hit the like button. It will help get the video and my still growing channel, still small channel, some exposure with the YouTube algorithm. Comments do the same thing. If you have any thoughts, leave those down there. If you want to follow along as King Romus Toras makes his way through God knows what, and maybe gets himself killed or seduced by his best friend, hit the subscribe, and you can come along with us, and we'll see you for episode number 8 of Suzerain Rizia. J76NY saying thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very good day.